Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coachyourPO. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coachyourPO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, welcome to our Friday TGIF episode as well with Lakshmi Ramaseshan. Hi Lakshmi, welcome back.
Hi Vasco, it's great to be here as always.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited to hear what stories you have to share with us about the product owner. So let's start with a bad example, then we'll finish with a good example. So what was potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern that you've had to work with?
Yeah, I have to say before I get into that, I have to put it out there that I feel like the product owner role is probably the toughest role on a team. It just requires so much. And so I have a lot of empathy for them. And even though I'm going to nitpick one product owner, I think that I have a lot of respect for this role. And it's hard to do well, right? So this product owner that I want to share the story about had a really command and control style of working, super detail-oriented, knew what needed to be developed on the product. But I think what got in her way was that she was over-prescriptive to the teams about how to solve the problem. So an example is, we use Jira and Confluence to track and document our work across the organization. And she would use Confluence to write very detailed requirements, right? So old school, writing really detailed requirements. And she was not giving the freedom to the team to be able to define what done looks like and breaking it into smaller chunks of stories. So it just got really overwhelming. And I'd say the pattern was it showed a lack of trust with the team. It just was a tough thing to see because I could see that the team was feeling down about this because they felt like they had no control and the things were coming to them and the team didn't really know where to add value, right? So I had an open conversation with this product manager. We actually call our product owners product managers, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But our product manager didn't really understand that she was coming across this way. She's just a detail-oriented person. She loves control and was scared of giving up control, right? So, giving her the benefit of the doubt, I wanted to really understand what she was seeing and why she was adopting the style. Was this her natural way of working? Was she being extra prescriptive with this team because of some past history, right? We needed to really understand and unpack that a little bit. So she shared this story with me that, she didn't feel like the team was delivering. And so as a result, adopted the style of working with this team. So I said, okay, well, how about we try an experiment, right? We will try this for 2 to 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, we can talk about, how to do something a little bit different. But let's just create a safe space for the team to experiment and let's try a couple of different things. So one is I will need your support to step back a little bit and only focus on relaying the problem that we're trying to solve, the why, and maybe in some ways the what, right? And let the team really figure out the how. So I said, well, what I'll need is true feedback on whether the team is able to get to the how and whether that ultimately you're happy with the results, right? So that's what I'll need from you. And the other thing that I'll need you to step back on is give the freedom to the team to break up the work in a way that makes sense for them. So you focus on defining the features and the acceptance criteria at that level, and let the team figure out how that gets done, right? Don't dictate, is it one story or 5 stories? Let the team figure that out based on dependencies and how they're going to be working this feature. So ultimately, you hold the definition of done for this feature, but the team has control on how to deliver. So that was the conversation that I ended up having, and it ended up being really successful. It took a few cycles to get it right, but now there is more trust within the team. The product owner stepped back, and voila, what happened is she also got a lot more time because she didn't have to worry about all those millions of details that she worried about before. And the team had more ownership, and they actually enjoyed working in the team.
Yeah, and the product owner also benefited from that. I like to focus on one aspect of the story, which was the way you built the feedback as a way for her not to lose control, even without going into the level of detail that she was going to before, right? And that reminds me that for Agile, feedback is kind of the fuel for fast delivery.
Yeah.
And when we are in doubt, and in this case, when the product owner is in doubt, maybe the team hasn't earned their trust yet, then just build one more or a faster feedback loop so that the product owner can see what's happening, react, orient the team, and not be afraid.
Yes, exactly. I love what you said there, Vasco, because it all comes down to that. And I think when we can phrase it in a non-threatening way and say it's an experiment, then it disarms everyone, because then that means it opens up the conversation to change it if it doesn't work, right? And that's the power of the word experiment. I think it's such a beautiful word.
Absolutely. All right, now we turn our attention to the opposite. What might have been, potentially, the best product owner you've ever worked with? Share that story, Lakshmi.
Yeah, there's a few that come to mind. And, for the purposes of continuing on with the story, so even though the shift happened with this product owner that, wasn't able to trust the team, it still wasn't where the team could flourish, right? It was better, but it wasn't amazing. So because of other reasons that I won't get into, we actually decided to make a shift in the product manager on this team and bring in someone else that was working in another part of the organization. So I want to set a little bit of context to the 4 aspects of how I think of the product management role, because we actually, in our organization, Vasco, we don't have product owners. We have product managers. So there's the product management part of this. There's 4 parts, actually. So if I look at it, there's product management, project management, business analysis, and leadership. Right. So if you look at those 4 quadrants, product management is all about setting the vision and the strategy. Project management is making sure that, the delivery is happening based on the outcomes you're trying to get to. Right. The business analysis is all the user story writing and making sure you're working with the team and the backlog refinement meetings. And then leadership is really, taking that vision and being there with the team to help motivate them, make sure that they're going in the right direction, right? And partnering with the Scrum Master or the leads on the team. So the amazing thing that happened is when we brought in this new product manager that was very experienced, very mature, what happened is her style was completely the opposite of the previous product manager. And I'll explain how. She started with observing the team, as any good leader or coach does, right? And she started to observe the team with what they do really well. And then she was honest about her strength and said, my superpower is laying out a vision and strategy. And the other superpower that I have is I love collaborating with business teams and client-facing teams and helping them be more involved in the product development process. I am not good at executing as much, so I will need to partner with you on that. and I'll need your support on this while I focus on this outer perimeter, right? So that was really beautiful because it created this partnership with the team and the client-facing teams. So now the customer is coming closer to the team that's working on the problems. There's no us versus them anymore. It created a more unified approach to product development. There was also more autonomy on the team because now the product manager was setting the vision, helping them prioritize and figure out, how do we get to the right outcomes, bringing in client-facing team members in that conversation, and leaving the team to solve the problem. It was just beautiful. So for me as a coach, it was interesting to see that even though I helped the previous product manager shift the conversation and start moving in the right direction, it still wasn't the perfect environment for this team and the way that they like to work, right? So it just made me realize that ultimately when you get people together on a team and every lead on the team, so the tech lead, the scrum master, the product manager can all play to their strengths, it leads to a team that's so happy, that's naturally doing the things that they're inclined to do. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. And that aspect of everyone being able to play to their strengths is actually quite important. And I loved how you phrased the story of the product manager with the different stance and that was open about her strengths and was able to analyze and assess the strengths of the team, because that's also what we need to do as Scrum Masters, right? Like it's impossible for somebody to succeed if what we want them to do is to be better at the things they're bad at, but they can definitely get better at the things they're good at, right? And they might even get excited and motivated about getting better at those things.
Yeah, you're so right, because I really loved the approach she took with this team, because she's like, well, I'm going to focus on what I can bring to the table that I'm awesome at. And I know I'm not really good at this project management thing. And let me see if I can partner with someone on the team to make that happen, right? And that now helped the tech lead step up and said, hey, actually, I'm interested in this. So let me work with you on this. So I think it just changed the conversation. Instead of her being burdened by something that she's not really good at and doesn't get energy from, it now created a position for someone else on the team to take that leadership role.
Absolutely. And bringing the best out of the team. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Lakshmi.
You're welcome.
So we're getting close to the end, but before we do go, do share with us, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Sure. I'd say look me up on LinkedIn. That's usually the best place to find me. I'm also on Twitter, Lakshmi Ramaseshan too. So yeah, find me on either of those places. I'm always willing to share my story and see if, it inspires anyone or learn from others for the most part. I think that we all as Scrum Masters and coaches are always in this journey of continuously learning and getting our skills to be more sharp and seeing what we can bring to our organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great aspect of this Scrum Master community. We are a new community, but growing fast and sharing a lot with each other. That's brilliant. Lakshmi, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed doing this with you.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.